On my left is Mabvazuva Phase 2. If you have been following this channel, you have probably seen the full video of it, looking at the development, the houses, the environment, and what makes Mabvazuva such an interesting residential community. But today we are going to the other side, that is Mabvazuva Phase 1. And if you're a real estate fanatic, you probably have heard of Mabvazuva Estate. It's one of those developments that has been quite recognizable amongst people looking for property to buy in Ruwa as well as around Harare. But today I don't want us to just drive through and look at beautiful houses. I want us to actually take a closer look at Phase 1, what it looks like, how established it is, and what can we learn from the original phase compared to the newer Phase 2. Because when you're looking at property, sometimes the best way to understand the future of a development is to look at what has already happened. So let's head straight into Mabvazuva Phase 1 and see what awaits us. Okay, now we have made our way into Mabvazuva Phase 1, and the first thing that I want you to appreciate is this is a gated community. That's important because when people buy into developments like Mabvazuva, they are not simply buying a piece of land. They are buying into a particular environment and lifestyle. You're looking for that feeling of coming home and knowing you're entering your community. You have defined access. You have a neighborhood with a particular identity, and you have homeowners who are all developing their properties within the same overall development. So for many families, that's a very big attraction. And I think this is one of the reasons gated communities have become increasingly popular among Zimbabweans looking to build their homes. But there's something particularly interesting about this phase. This is the part of Mabvazuva that has had more time to develop. So instead of looking at what the development might become, we can start seeing what it actually looks like when people have moved in, built their houses, and the place they call their home. And that's exactly what we are exploring today. So one thing that I always find interesting when looking at property developments is the difference between very new and well-established developments. When you visit a brand new development and everything is still a promise, vacant stands, too much construction, the roads and the infrastructure that will be taking place, and you are essentially buying into a vision. But when you come into a more established phase like Phase 2, you have something very different. The evidence is already there. The houses that people have built, you can see how they have used their stands. You can see the landscaping, the character of the streets, and you can begin to see what your own property would actually look like in the same neighborhood. So I think this is very useful when you are looking into buying property in those areas that are already established. And to the houses, let us have a look at the houses. Being honest, this is probably what most of us want to see when we come into a developed area. You want to know what are people actually building, the kind of houses, the properties, how they look like when they're finished, and what kind of architectural styles are homeowners choosing. It's not every development where people have the liberty to get to design their own homes. In some areas they are given options to choose from. So from here you can clearly see that we have very different designs, different roof lines, different finishes, and different approach to the landscaping, and it looks very good because it shows you that homeowners are bringing their own personality into the development. One person might want a very modern contemporary home, another person might want something more traditional, someone else might want to build a larger home. And that's one of the exciting things about buying your own stand, and you get to choose what you want, especially these ones that give you the opportunity to play around with the designs that you want. But of course, when building your house, Definitely you wouldn't want to start with the pretty finishings. You need to start with the fundamentals, to look at the stand, the orientation, the access, the drainage, understand the requirements, and then get to design the house of your choice. Now, so if you are watching this and you're thinking about buying your property, let's take a step back. Why are developments like Mabvazuva very interesting? One reason is that you're not simply buying into an isolated property, you are buying into a community, and that can be very important when you're thinking about the long-term appeal of the property. People generally want to live in areas that are very attractive, organized, and convenient. As you can see here in Mabvazuva Phase 1, we can clearly see that this is a very organized community. They want very good looking homes around them. Here we can all see that the houses, they are beautiful and everything is in order. They want an environment that feels safe and private. That's the promise of a gated community. But remember, every development is different, so don't simply hear the words gated community and assume everything is perfect. In some areas, but this one, I think we can all clearly see that things are in order. So now let's talk of Ruwa itself. Mabvazuva doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of the wider Ruwa market, and over the years we've seen a lot of residential development taking place around this side of Greater Harare areas. For someone looking for a home, Ruwa can be interesting option because you're looking beyond the traditional Harare suburbs and considering the wider metropolitan area. But when you're buying property, you need to think beyond today's location. You need to think about accessibility, surrounding developments, infrastructure, future growth, and of course, real estate is a very long-term game, so you need to put all that into consideration, because you might buy your stand today, but after 5 years, what is going to be the value? 10 years, 15 years? So these are some of the questions that you're supposed to be asking yourself. Do I like Mabvazuva today? The bigger question is, do I like the direction in which this area is developing? Those are the kind of questions you need to answer for yourself. Now, let's say maybe for this development or any other developments, you have decided to buy your residential stand and you are certain of where you want to build your house. Whatever the case might be, get your drawings done properly, understand the requirements, understand the cost, and have a realistic construction budget. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see is people starting construction with a budget that only covers the very first few stages. They finish the foundation and suddenly realize they need more money. The project sits sometimes for months, years. Your goal should be to start with a realistic plan that takes you all the way from the first excavation to the final coat of paint. And one of the ways to get started with your construction journey is to obviously have a bill of queue. You need to get into this journey fully equipped, knowing exactly what you are getting yourself into, the amounts of money that you need, and all the processes that are going to follow. So for those that are looking into having their bill of queues, you can get in touch with me. I can get it done for you. And of course, for project management, do not hesitate. Okay, so let us continue watching the rest of the neighborhood to get to appreciate what Mabvazuva Phase 1 looks like.